cannot believe it's finally here. Our very first video on our new Alaska Schoolhouse YouTube channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. We're super excited to get this channel off the ground. So we thought, what better way to start than to talk about
education in general.
That's right.
So we were brainstorming the last couple weeks, made a lot of research and talked about what education means for us. And then all of a sudden we stumbled over a quote online and we said, this is it. This quote sums everything up. Everything.
Absolutely. So at the end of this we have a little special treat because we actually created something with the verse.
Yes.
And but you have to wait till the end for that.
Yeah, stay tuned for that one.
So what does education mean to you, Kerstin?
Education means to give my children the gift of learning, to let them and show them how to develop a love for education, for lifelong learning skills. And because I feel like society just puts a bad reputation out about schooling and about education. And I think it's quite the opposite. I think we need to ignite the love for learning again and to make it fun, because education can be lots of fun, you know?
Yes, and unless you get the kids or the students inspired to learn out of their own, you will not be able to have them retain anything at all.
Nope. No, and it's also to be an example to them too, because if I have a bad opinion or attitude about learning, then of course they will have the same learning habit that I do, you know.
And especially, I love that you said about the lifelong learning, because that is so important. Even as a grown people, I mean, how many times do we get a book or we research something, you know, in our case for homeschooling, YouTubing, podcasting, anything like that, or video editing, we have to continuously learn. It doesn't end. Or our husbands, you know, even in their work environment, they have to read books in order to learn and grow. That's part of life, and that's how we create leaders.
Yeah.
And not just people that retain information, but people that can take that information and convert it into how they can apply it in our society, in our culture.
See, and growing up in the public school, I always, you know, you always got taught that it starts at 8 and it ends at 3. And then that's it.
Yes.
And that education only takes part in a classroom setting.
Yeah.
And then as soon as May or June comes around and you have summer break, you think, this is it. I'm not learning. I'm not doing anything. But that is not true, you know?
And with that too, we instill that same idea in our children. So from when they're really small, we know, oh, it's summer break. We don't do anything educational anymore. Not everyone, but a majority. And so our kids grow up with that mentality.
Yeah, and that made me rethink how we view education. You know, and I wanted to make sure that I encourage my children that education and learning never stops.
That's right. And is not contained in just a classroom setting.
No.
There's so many other things that we have to learn. We talked about that before in another video. It goes from spiritual growth, academic growth, life skills, you know, those are so important, and how often do we forget those? Or even just, I think sometimes, especially with homeschooling, the kids watching us, how we handle situations, how we make it through them, through opposition or through a challenge that stretches us. I think sometimes that is even the most valuable gift and lesson that we can give to kids, if we live out godly character in front of them.
Absolutely. So what does education mean to you?
Oh, I mean, some of it we already touched, but I mean, I think one of the most important things that I learned growing up in Germany, and I'm sure it's for you maybe that way too, is my parents put a really big emphasis on creating a worldview and giving us a view of the world. And I think that is so important because, you know, we live in one tiny little part of the world, and we so often forget about what everything is around us, how that works, how different nations operate, what's good about it, what's bad about it. how their culture is, how their society functions. And I think that is so important that the kids are aware of that, so that they can develop an opinion on their own and not just listen to what other people say.
And to respect somebody else's culture.
Yes, be able to communicate with people that are different in very different ways. So I think building that worldview and to be able to teach the kids to be critical thinkers, to think for themselves and not only go with what they're told. Absolutely. That is one of the most important things for me for education.
Yeah.
Because you cannot create leaders if all you're doing is stuff information into them.
No, absolutely not.
Future leaders have to be ignited with passion for learning, with a fire for doing what's right, for caring for your community and society. That is how you develop leaders, and that is how we change the world for the better.
Yep. And I know I always try to teach my children that education, especially like being homeschooled, is a privilege. That's not
Absolutely.
just your right. And I know you told me the other day when you went on a mission trip in the Dominican Republic how parents had to make the choice in the morning to send their children to school or to send them to work.
In order for the family to make it by financially and to be able to feed everyone. Yeah. So many of those kids that we met, never even seen inside of a classroom.
Yeah.
They were illiterate, and
there's so many, in parts of this world how children are fighting for education, and they would love to have what our, children here have.
Available to them everywhere.
Yeah, and to let our children know, look what look how privileged you are.
Yes, I truly think that if our kids give education the respect it deserves, I think God will bless them with the wisdom that they need to lead the world as the new generation starts growing and following behind us, because we sure left a little bit of a mess behind for them.
Yeah.
So they have to find ways to make it through that, because our generation wasn't able to fix it.
And what a great responsibility we have to change.
Yes.
To change, how education is seen by society, to give it a better reputation again, and how it is supposed to be.
So I feel like sometimes homeschooling is not quite valued as much as the traditional school system. But I have to disagree with it. We've done everything. We've done public school, we've done private school, and once we found homeschooling, there was no going back. And my biggest fear was that I wasn't equipped for it. But that is absolutely not the case. Parents are absolutely equipped to educate their children. And if you look at any of the greatest leaders in US history, even including our founding fathers, where were they educated? At home.
Yeah,
at home. And if their parents weren't able to provide them a specific area of expertise, they would find a mentor that would just fill in that little gap. But it doesn't mean that it was handed over to an organizational system of education. They still had it in home, and they focused on the classics, they focused on mentoring, and they focused on really individualized learning. And they didn't have a million different subjects. It was writing, reading, reading, and reading. And that built their worldview, it built their critical thinking, their passion for education, passion for changing the world, seeing the world in the way they should.
And with technology nowadays and all the different curriculums, books, videos that are available to us. You know, I mean, can you imagine like education that's...
How can it not be fun, right?
Yes.
Because I even have fun when I research all
I do too.
the items. As soon as like the new year starts and like all the catalogs are coming out, I'm like,
I do too. Yeah, that's the fun part.
That is the fun part.
Yeah.
I'm a curriculaholic.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, we're quite addicted to that one. But it's a good addiction. That's a very good addiction.
We approve that one.
Yes. Yes. So if you're wondering what that quote was, are you ready to reveal it?
Should I go get it?
Yes.
Okay, let me run in the homeschool room and go get it. So you guys ready?
This is it, the big moment.
Yeah.
We need some drum rolls. This is it.
The future of the world is in my classroom today.
This is the quote that sums it all up. To me, that quote is just so powerful. And I think that's why we made the sign to hang it in our homeschool rooms, just to give us motivation.
And just as a daily reminder,
Yeah.
what an important role we have and how important education is.
Because everybody loves the beginning of the school year. Everybody is pumped and ready to go. But then
That's
as
right.
soon as November comes around and December, and I feel like especially living here in Alaska where it's just dark and you rather want to stay in bed because the sun doesn't come up till 11 o'clock, you know. This is a good reminder what role we play in building their education and their lifelong learning.
Yes.
So I'm super excited.
So we're super excited. We do happen to have these available in our Etsy shop.
Yeah.
Also,
because
Live
we want to
Alaska.
help you guys out.
And
yes.
so in case you guys wanted it, the profits we use them for serving and giving back in our community. So you don't just help yourself with having this beautiful wall art in your room, you also help our community.
So what can you do today? Make sure you like this video, make sure you subscribe, and we put the link of our Etsy store down below. And that's it for today.
Yeah, thank you so much for being part of this. And if you want to drop us a comment below what your idea of education is, we always love learning from you guys as well, and just getting that community going before the school year starts.
Yep. So
counting it all joy.
bye.